Hello, and welcome to Maya Rockstars. So this is Dayon Paul. I am going to show you some very basic things in Maya. This is not for advanced users, but this course or these lessons are designed to make you become a Maya Rockstar. Or maybe you're a rapper or hip hopper, or maybe you're a little bit country, maybe even maestro. Anyway, it doesn't matter. If you want to be a superstar with Maya, you start at the very beginning. So we're going to show you how to get started with the Maya interface and just get started making things. So this is not an advanced course. Probably most of the things you've seen on Maya are very advanced. They jump right into particles or deformations or character modeling or animating. So we're going to start from the very beginning because there's not a whole lot of things out there that cover Maya from the start. So this is designed for people who are artists, really not for engineer types or industrial designers. This is really to get started with Maya with sort of a creative head in mind. So we're not going to get into a lot of sort of numbers and units and things like that, although we'll cover certain aspects of Maya that do require those things. But for the most part, we're going to just try to have fun with Maya. So in the very beginning, you'll notice when you open Maya, it can be a little bit intimidating. You have all these different panels and shelves and toolboxes and all these different things. But it's actually very easy to get started once you understand how to use Maya. So once you understand how to use the UI, it should be fairly easy to navigate around, although there are literally hundreds of tools here. I think if you look at the past 20 to 30 years of Maya development, Maya came out in about 1997, 1988. Prior to that, it was Alias. So Alias was in competition with Softimage. Alias prior to that had acquired Alias had acquired Wavefront, and Wavefront merged with TDI. So there's like 30 years in the making of these tools and have been integrated over the years into the Maya software. So let's take a look at some very basic things to get started here. So most of the time in Maya, when you want to start creating things, you use the create menu. So the first thing I'm going to do is just create a NURBS cube. So I'm going to go ahead and create the NURBS cube. And it just places it right in the center there. That's because I'm using the Maya Classic workspace. You can also use one that's more 3D Studio like, where you can drop in the size of the cube when we create it. But I prefer this method of creating objects, where it just creates the object at a default size and puts it right in the center. And we'll get into how to change that in a little bit. But let's just take a look at the scene first. So you notice I just zoomed into this window here, which is the perspective window. So there's 4 windows here. There's a top view, the front view, the side view, and the perspective. So if you've ever done mechanical drawing or anything like that, you'll know how to do, sort of project the top, side, front, different views of a of an object. So for a cube, it really doesn't matter. It looks like a square from the top, it looks like a square from the front, and looks like a square from the side. But if you look at the perspective view here, you can really see the dimension of that cube. Now, if I zoom in, the way that I can just kind of view one of the views here is to go ahead and hit my space bar. So if I hit my space bar and hover over that window, now I'm in the single view, which is the perspective view. So the perspective view, this is kind of where we can really tumble around the scene. And the way we do that is you use the Option key on the Mac or the Alt key on the PC. But before I start tumbling around, let me just explain a few things about the mouse functions here. So it is absolutely critical that you use a 3-button mouse. I don't recommend using a gamer mouse or something fancy like that. Just a 3-button mouse. It can have a wheel, but sometimes a wheel can be a little bit funky. But for the most part, I use probably the cheapest Logitech mouse. And then for more detailed work, I can use my Wacom Cintiq or just a sort of a handheld tablet if I'm painting or sculpting or things like that. But for the most part, I'm really navigating with the mouse. So, and I'm using the 3-button mouse because there are the 3 unique functions. So let's take a look at the first one, which is to tumble. So if I hold my Option key down and I click with my right mouse button, I can zoom. Okay, so I can zoom in. So that's how I zoom into my object first. So first I want to kind of see it, and I'm going to zoom in. Now if I want to tumble that view, I want to hold down the Option key and click on the left mouse button. So the left mouse button, now I can tumble my view around. So the navigation is the right mouse button to zoom in and out, and the left mouse button to tumble. So again, that's with the Option key on the Mac or the Alt key on the PC. Now, if I want to track, and let's say, I'm tumbling around or something like that, and I'm zoomed in and out, I may want to track the camera. So you can always think of this as a camera view. Each one of these views is a camera view. If I hold the middle mouse button, you'll notice that it turns into the crosshair, and I can track. Now, if I don't, some mice have a wheel on it, like mine has a wheel on the middle mouse button. So you don't want to start scrolling with the wheel, or this will happen. So if I'm holding the Option key down and I happen to hit the wheel, or even if I don't have the Option key down or Alt key, I'm zooming in and out. But I have much more control with the right mouse button. The right mouse button is a much nicer zoom in and out than the wheel. The wheel is a little shaky. So when you're using the middle mouse button, just try not to scroll the wheel, because then you're going to get the wrong function down. You won't be able to track like this. So that's how you kind of navigate. If your things kind of fall out of view and you're way zoomed out or something and you don't know where anything is, you might get lost. So what I like to do is just hit the F button to frame back in the object. Now, if you don't happen to have the object selected, or you don't have any objects selected or something like that, and you happen to navigate around and you want to get back to your camera view, you can use the bracket keys. So I can click the bracket key to go back, so the left and right brackets to go backward or forward on your keyboard. So I'm just going to kind of keep clicking them until I get back to the view. So it'll step through. It's like an undo for the camera. So the undo is different than the undo from the camera. So if I do things and I want to undo them, I'm going to hit Z. But if I want to undo any camera movements, I'm going to use the bracket key.